critically analyze.
Critically analyse indeed. I'm Grant Brindle and I'm here with you for the next half an hour on PBA-FM with our access program, Media Moves, brought to you by the South Australian Association for Media Education Incorporated, or as we just like to call ourselves, SAMI. We're a professional association made up of educators, people from the media industry and people from the general community, and our main aim is to promote media and information literacy both within schools and within the general community. And we'll be looking at some of the issues that are in the media at the moment. And we'll also have our rapid resident reviewer, Linda. She will be giving us a review of 2 films she's been to see. And we're going to look also at Lisa Wilkins and her winning of a Logie, or more specifically, that Logie speech that she made, which has caused quite a few headaches. Anyway, we're also going to look at the ABC turning 90. And we're going to... let's start off by mentioning the Adelaide Film Festival, because big announcement just recently that they are going to go annual. So they've been biennial events since 2003, but after the presentation in October this year, they're going to be going annual, and that is because of increased funding from Screen Australia and also the Adelaide Economic Development Agency. And this year the film festival is going to take place from October 19 to 30 at venues across the CBD and Greater Adelaide, and already they've received a record number of submissions from both local and abroad filmmakers. To celebrate the news, they've announced 2 world premieres at the 2022 festival, and that includes the opening night film and gala with The Angels Kicking Down the Door, which is an intimate look behind the scenes of one of Australia's most iconic rock bands, in other words, The Angels. And also they've got a premiere screening of Monolith, which is a high-concept sci-fi thriller, and that will be premiering on Thursday, October the 27th. So Monolith, is the feature debut of South Australian creative team of director Matt Vesely, writer Lucy Campbell, and producer Bettina Hamilton, Bettina's been around on the Adelaide scene for quite a few years, doing various roles in films, all sorts of TV programs. And this is it's a single location and on-screen character piece, and it surveils disgraced journalists, and this is played by rising star Lily Sullivan, as she turns to podcasting to salvage her career, and then uncovers a strange artefact that she believes is evidence of an alien conspiracy. So they call it a strikingly original sci-fi thriller, and it's come out of the Film Corporation's Film Lab New Voices program. And it's a collaboration between the Adelaide Film Festival, the South Australian Film Corp, and support from Mercury, the Mercury Cinema Mob, and Screen Australia. That's going to be on Thursday the 27th of October. And you can already purchase tickets for that by going online. Now, this is not the first film to be called Monolith. In fact, we can go back to 1993. And there was one then more recently there was another sci-fi of the same name in 2016, and there's even on YouTube a fake trailer for a song Monolith, which came out in 2021. So anyway, for those people who are interested in sci-fi and homegrown products will be interested in seeing that. Okay, let's go now to Media Watch and their take on Lisa Wilkinson and that Logie acceptance speech.
Logie goes to the Brittany Higgins interview, The Project.
Thank you so much for this incredible honour. This interview and this story is by far the most important work I have ever done.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And that was 10's Lisa Wilkinson with the 2.5-minute Logie speech that stopped a criminal trial just days before it was set to begin. And as you doubtless know, she was singing the praises of one young woman.
When our story went to air, the entire country knew the name Brittany Higgins.
Wilkinson's story on 10's The Project in February last year was an exclusive TV interview in which Higgins claimed to have been sexually assaulted in Canberra's Parliament House.
She alleges in 2019 she was raped by fellow staffer Bruce Lerman, who has pleaded not guilty.
Lerman's trial was due to begin this week and to be heard by a jury. But Wilkinson's Logie speech, which lauded Higgins' courage and bravery, put a stop to those proceedings and thrust the TV host into the headlines in the most inglorious of ways.
Trial and error. Lisa Wilkinson's speech at the Logies backfires. The Brittany Higgins rape case delayed.
This was the withering front page in Lisa's hometown tabloid, The Daily Telegraph.
Hand up if you've caused court chaos.
Rape trial date vacated after TV host's Logie speech.
And on page 5 of the paper came another hit.
Lisa's Logie's blow to justice.
Across the News Corp empire, columnists and leader writers also piled in, condemning Wilkinson for her supposed stupidity and calling for her to be charged with contempt. So, what was her sin? To forget the presumption of innocence, or as the ACT's Chief Justice Lucy McCullum put it to the court,
mightn't good journalism be mindful of criminal proceedings and remembering to insert the magic word alleged?
Now, the rules of contempt of court and sub judice are not new. They're cornerstones of the criminal justice system. And Lisa Wilkinson is well aware of them, telling people last year on Twitter to respect what's in play here, because passing judgment could have dire consequences for the outcome of any trial. And yet, that is what she appears to have done. Because Wilkinson's Logie speech didn't only fail to use the word alleged. As the Chief Justice went on to explain,
Ms Wilkinson openly referred to and praised the complainant in the present trial. Ms Wilkinson's status as a respected journalist is such as to lend credence to the representation of the complainant as a woman of courage whose story must be believed.
In other words, by effectively trumpeting the truth of Higgins' allegation, the presumption of innocence was obliterated, with the Chief Justice concluding,
the distinction between an untested allegation and the fact of guilt has been lost.
And how did 10's The Project cover this embarrassing story about its star host, who reportedly earns more than $1 million a year? It didn't, apart from this brief mention on Tuesday evening.
The trial of the man charged with the alleged rape of Brittany Higgins has been delayed. Bruce Lerman's lawyers asked for a stay of proceedings following coverage of the project's Logies award win.
That short item conspicuously failed to mention Wilkinson's role in causing the delay, and the programme has not returned to it since. Nor has Wilkinson been back on air. As high-profile media barrister Matthew Collins told Sunrise the day after the trial was halted,
you guys understand the risk inherent in talking about cases which are about to go to trial before courts, particularly serious high-profile cases. So clearly this was ill-advised.
But Lisa Wilkinson and Network 10, whose lawyers reportedly approved her speech before delivery, are not alone in making this embarrassing blunder. Also to blame were WSFM's Brendan Jones and Amanda Keller, who replayed some of Wilkinson's speech before the judge had condemned it and raved about the story.
There were some really lovely moments last night, one of which was the award that Lisa Wilkinson and the project picked up for the story they did on Brittany Higgins.
We won't play you any more, except to say their comments were ill-advised and prejudicial, with the Chief Justice telling the court,
each of the radio presenters assumed the guilt of the accused.
Now, this contempt of the legal process really is a shocker, because we're not talking about young kids here starting out in journalism, but 3 experienced senior members of the profession. And what makes it even more extraordinary is that Lisa Wilkinson may be called as a witness in the Higgins trial and had also been warned about her speech by prosecution lawyers before her Logie appearance. As 7 News reported,
the court was told Wilkinson was warned less than a week ago that any increased publicity could delay the trial. She offered to read out her Logie's acceptance speech, but was interrupted by the prosecution, who said it wasn't their job to proofread.
The Lerman trial is now set for the first week of October, with the court seeking undertakings from Lisa Wilkinson, Brendan Jones and Amanda Keller to cease any further comments that might influence the jury. As the ACT Director of Public Prosecutions told the court,
they involve acknowledgement that interfering with the due administration of law or breach of the sub judice could amount to contempt proceedings.
It really is an indictment of modern media standards that any of this has taken place. And hammering that point in crikey was lawyer Michael Bradley.
The law is still the law. Since we're all so excitable about the rule of law, how about we fucking comply with it?
Now there's an idea. But as Bradley went on to explain, in the justifiable desire to take sexual assault allegations seriously, a fundamental rule has been forgotten.
So easily lost in the maelstrom of Me Too is the slightly subtle point that believing survivors is not the same thing as discarding the presumption of innocence.
Good point, and one rarely reflected on social media. So, let this sorry tale be a warning to all those in the mainstream media who want to jump on matters before the courts. Think before you speak, or better still, don't speak at all. Meanwhile, 10 is doing all it can to protect Lisa Wilkinson and warning rival media to back off.
This reporting is now causing significant harm, and we ask these organisations to cease this harassment, to allow Lisa the best opportunity to give her evidence in court and to enable the trial to go ahead in a fair and timely manner.
We'll see how that goes.
Yes, and as Paul Barry said, the knife certainly came out for Lisa from a lot of sections of the media, and the lawyer that Channel 10 hired in his comments was hinting at defamation cases for those who were pursuing their comments and claims against Lisa Wilkins. But one does have to wonder, why would somebody who's been around for so long as Lisa Wilkins make this faux pas? A conspiracy theorist would almost say perhaps she's trying to pervert the course of justice. Perhaps she is concerned that her reputation will take a hit if the trial doesn't come out with the anticipated guilty verdict that Lisa Wilkins assumes. I don't know. Perhaps, perhaps there's more to it than meets the eye, or is it just ego and poor judgment? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, let's have a listen now. A little bit more of a light-hearted note. Linda, our rapid resident reviewer, who of course can be heard on this station tomorrow with her program. So what films has Linda been watching for us?
Top Gun Maverick. After more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy's top aviators, Pete Maverick Mitchell is where he belongs, training graduates for a special assignment. And for a sequel, 10 out of 10. Jurassic World Dominion. 4 years after the destruction of Isla Nublar, dinosaurs now live and hunt alongside humans all over the world. This is the final in the series of Jurassic Park, and it's a 10 out of 10. Until next time, bye for now.
The end is inevitable, Maverick. Your kind is headed for extinction.
Maybe so, sir. But not today.
You're listening to Media Moods here with Grant Brindle on PBA-FM. The Australian Communications and Media Authority, ACMA, has released a new position paper calling for broadcasters and other content providers to address today's audience expectations regardless of their channels of media consumption. This paper was informed by the ACMA's regularly statutory monitoring, compliance and research activities, existing industry safeguards and the findings of previous government reviews and broader public discourse on community standards. The chair of ACMA, Nerida O'Loughlin, said that it provides our views on what Australian audiences expect when they consume media, whether that be on TV, radio, in print or online. We identify important safeguards on issues such as accuracy and impartiality, transparency of commercial interests, privacy and dealing with highly stressed content. Co-regulation currently sits at the heart of TV and radio content regulation in Australia. It is incumbent on the broadcasting industry to effectively deliver on co-regulation to maintain the confidence of audiences and the broader community. We therefore expect broadcasters will take this research into account when reviewing and updating their respective co-regulatory codes of practice. This comes at a time when Australians are watching more on-demand content than ever before. 58% of adults used online subscription video services in a given week, and 54% watched free-to-air television in June 2021. More Australians are also watching broadcasters' own catch-up or on-demand services, and the current broadcasting codes of practice do not apply to online content, even when that content appears on a broadcaster's live stream catch-up or on-demand platform. And O'Loughlin said, with rapidly changing content environment, we consider that it's urgent for broadcasters to apply content rules consistently across their multiple delivery platforms, so that all their audiences are afforded similar protections. And they intend that this paper will serve as a resource for a broader range of content providers outside of the regulatory framework, including print media and streaming services. These services should be asking themselves whether these audience expectations are being met by their current self-regulatory arrangements, such as terms of use. So that's a newly released position paper from our government regulator, the Australian Communications and Media Authority.
I come from the dream time, from the dusty race of plains. I am the ancient love, the keeper of the flame. I stood upon the rocky shore, I watched the torches come. For 60,000 years I've been the first Australia. We are one, but we are many, and from all the lands on earth we come. We share a dream and sing with one voice. I am, you are, we are Australia. I am, you are, we are. I am, you are, we are. I am, you are, we are. I am, you are, we are Australia.
And that's the official ABC 90th birthday rendition of I Am Australian. Now let's have a listen. Eddie Perfect also came up with a song to celebrate this event. The ABC became the Australian Broadcasting Commission on the 1st of July, 1932.
Your ABC is 90, and yes, that's super fun. It's a damn impressive innings, but come on, it's not a ton. Now a century's impressive, a centenary is great. So why are we all bothering with 10 short years to wait? Well, I'll tell you why, my people, 'cause your auntie's old as hell. She might not live a decade, so you know, you might as well. So let's turn up with the present. Let's show the dame we care. Let's tell her, hey, we love you, as we stroke her thinning hair and give her 90%. Almost all our energy, but just a little bit held back for future events. 90 years deserves a celebration. Of course we'll laugh, of course we'll cry, but we'll also keep our powder dry for when the big 100 comes. So till then, let's give 90%, come on. Just give it 90%. Your auntie's there through floods and fire, through famine, plague and war. Episodes of Spicks and Specks we've seen 10 times before. She's cultured and dramatic and comedic to a T, with gardening on Friday nights for boring folks like me. And whatever the emergency, our auntie's standing by with essential information and a rustic cottage pie. She's all across the country, on our screens and in our ears. Let's celebrate her 90th with 2.7 cheers. That equals 90%. Almost all our budget, but with 10% held back, it's really money well spent. 90 years of broadcast innovation. Let's celebrate, hip hip hooray. But let's not get too carried away, 'cause 100 is in sight. So come on, let's give 90% tonight. Let's give it 90%. Let's give it 90%.
Well, that's about our time for this episode of Media Moves. On this day, back in 1923, the Hollywood sign was officially dedicated above the hills of Hollywood. Of course, it originally said Hollywood Land, but the last 4 letters were dropped after renovations in 1949. Frank Sinatra made his recording debut. In 1985, at 12:01, Status Quo started the Live Aid extravaganza, which was beamed to over 1.5 billion people in 160 countries. Dunkirk, the film, was premiered on 2017, directed by Christopher Nolan. And in 2018, Scarlett Johansson withdrew from a transgendered film, which was called, what was it called? It was called Tug and Rough. No, Rub and Tug. You got it right there in the end. Also on this day, in 1978, the BBC banned Sex Pistols and their song No One Is Innocent because it featured the vocals by Ronnie Biggs, the British criminal notorious for his part in the Great Train Robbery of 1963. And at the time of recording, Biggs was living in Brazil and was still wanted by the British authorities, but was immune from extradition. So that was reason enough for this song, and we're going to finish off with this notorious band song by the Sex Pistols, No One Is Innocent. So see if you think it should have been banned. Anyway, until next month, it's Grant Brindle from Media Moves wishing you a good night, and don't forget to critically analyse indeed. Until next month, goodbye.